Hi folks, welcome to another Tuesday video from Lanzarote Information. And this week I'm going to be sharing with you 7 mistakes that you shouldn't make when you're visiting the island. And these are things I see all the time and have done for many, many years. And lots of people make these mistakes. So stick with us to the end and there might be 2, 3, 4, maybe even 7 that you've done yourself. And the first one is don't drink spirits like you do back home. Now, most places here in Lanzarote don't use measures when they're pouring you a whiskey and coke or a gin and tonic. They just pour it into what they feel is an appropriate amount. The Canarians are generous by nature, and that means the measures are generous. In many cases, what you'll be getting is, certainly compared to a UK measure, a triple or even a quadruple. And that means if you're in a crowd and you're drinking at the same rate as they are, and they're only drinking, say, wine or beers, you will be legless before you know it. So do think about it and perhaps skip the odd round or have a soda water or put another tonic in your gin just to save you being completely drunk. Now, we see this the other way round, of course. We've got used to these big measures here. And when we travel back to the UK, which we don't do very often, but when we do, we have a rule now never to order spirits, because the last time we did so, which was a few years ago, I think we ordered 2 gin and tonics, and we were both saying to each other, I can't actually taste the gin in that. So then we had to go back and ask for doubles, and even then they tasted surprisingly weak to us. So we figured it just made sense not to buy spirits at all in the UK. Next up, and kind of tied in with that a little bit, a mistake a lot of people make here is not drinking enough water. Now, you have a double whammy when you're on holiday in Lanzarote because you're likely to be drinking more than you normally would anyway. But of course, it's super hot here. The air is very dry. You'll be sweating much more. And dehydration is a very serious potential problem for you. It starts off by causing you to feel a bit muzzy in the head, but it can become serious enough it can kill you basically. So just make sure you drink plenty of water. And most of us here drink either bottled water or water that's filtered at the tap. But bottled water, if you're on holiday in the supermarkets, is dirt cheap. Make sure you buy plenty, make sure you drink plenty. And the next 2 are also connected with the sun in some way. The first is to wear a good quality sun cream. Now, Lanzarote, if you look at it on the map, is 1,000 kilometers south of mainland Spain. Our nearest neighbour is the Sahara Desert. We're only 80 odd nautical miles from the Sahara Desert here. So the UV element, the ultraviolet element of the sun here is massively higher than you would be used to in Northern Europe. And it means you will burn very, very quickly. Now, our advice is always to use a really good quality sun cream. I would recommend, particularly in the winter, if you're coming from Northern Europe, you're going to be quite white, you won't have spent much time in the sun, wear a factor 50, maybe come down to a factor 30, but make sure it's a good quality one and make sure you reapply it often. I've seen so many people over the years who've had their holidays completely ruined by getting badly burnt in the first couple of days and then having to spend the rest of their hard-earned week in the sunshine actually avoiding the sunshine because they've been badly burnt in those early days. And as a bonus tip, wear a hat as well. If you're bald like me, it's absolutely essential. But even if you're not, the top of your head where your hair parts, or you have that kind of ring at the back of your head, can get very badly burned if you don't wear a hat in the high UV sunshine here. And as I said, sticking with things to do with the sun, wear good quality sunglasses. Again, that UV is an issue. It can really hurt your eyes if you're not used to it, and you end up walking around squinting because you can't see very well. Good quality sunglasses that give you decent vision and have high UV protection are really essential here. And of course, you'll look cool. But don't buy fake ones. And that's actually the next mistake that a lot of people make here, and that's to buy fake designer goods. Now, this kind of operates at 2 levels here on the island. The first level is a bit more obvious, and that's where you go to Gizeh Market and buy a fake Rolex for 25 euros or a fake Louis Vuitton bag for 50 euros or whatever they charge. I don't know what the prices are. Now, I imagine, well, in fact, I'm certain that anybody doing that knows damn well that what they're buying is a fake. But there is another level of fakery that does go on here. Quite often in the electrical shops, for example, in the resort areas, they will sell you old models of products. So you think you're buying the latest Canon camera or iPad, but what you're actually buying is one that's 2 or 3 years old, and although it's new and in a box, it's actually the old model you're paying for. Some of those shops also sell things like football shirts for the main football clubs around the world, and again, in many cases, they're fakes. They're not the original product that you might think you're buying. So just keep your wits about you. If the price is too good to be true, walk away. Only 2 to go now. This is a short, sharp video this week, and the next mistake people make in Lanzarote is to ignore the beach flags. Now, we are in the Atlantic Ocean, and most of the time the bays around the island are perfect for swimming, very calm waters, well protected and so on. But you have to bear in mind it is the Atlantic, and we do get Atlantic swells that come in from time to time. Today is Tuesday, and we actually have a weather warning for waves up to 4 meters high at the moment. You can occasionally get a rip current as well, and in a minute I'll tell you what to do if you ever do find yourself in a rip current. But the important thing is to pay attention to the beach flags. The beaches in all of the resort areas have lifeguards, and they will run a red flag up if they feel it's not safe for people to swim. And that may be because of waves, it may be because of rip currents, it may be because of jellyfish, which we very occasionally have visit here. Whatever the answer is, if you see a red flag, don't swim. 9 times out of 10, if you go to another coast or another part of the island, you'll be able to swim perfectly well. So for example, today I mentioned we have big waves. They're being driven by a southerly wind. So it's likely that in Playa Blanca we have pretty big waves. It's almost certain that in Puerto del Carmen, which is only 35 kilometers up the coast, it'll be perfectly calm because that bay is sheltered from a southerly. Now I mentioned about rip currents, and just to give you a quick bonus, if you like, on the subject of rip currents. A rip current is where a narrow body of water is flowing out away from the beach. So, and the problem is you can't see them, but if you could see it, if you were looking at a beach, imagine I've got a beach in front of me now, the water is coming in, the waves are coming in, but there might be a section of that, perhaps only 10 meters wide, where the current is being pulled out to sea, quite often at relatively high speed and certainly faster than most people can swim. Now you'll know very quickly if you're in one because you'll feel yourself being pulled away from the beach. The answer is don't turn around and try and fight it, because you almost certainly won't be able to swim fast enough to beat that current. The answer is to actually swim sideways. So turn 90 degrees away from the beach or away from the ocean and just swim sideways, and you'll find you very quickly get out of that narrow band of water, and then you can make your way ashore normally. Have you enjoyed this video? Have you found it useful? If so, please give us a like below. Do please consider subscribing to our channel if you want lots of information about Lanzarote. We post a general informational video like this one on a Tuesday. We post a walking around somewhere on the island video on a Thursday, and we do the Lanzarote news every Saturday morning. If you've got a comment or a question, please leave it below. I read every single one of those, and I will always answer your questions. Thank you. And here's your last mistake that people make coming to the island, and that is not getting out of one of the resort areas. And I've spoken to people over the years who've been coming to this island for 20, 25 years, and they've never been out of Puerto del Carmen. Now that's cool, you know, for some people that's all they want to do, come to Puerto del Carmen or Costa de Gizeh or Playa Blanca, spend a couple of weeks here every year and not go anywhere because they know it, they know where where they're going to eat, where they're going to drink and so on. But for many people, you're missing out on a lot that the island has to offer. The non-resort areas like Aria and San Bartolome and Playa Honda are just fascinating. The little villages on the coast like El Golfo, Arieta, Punta Mujeres, Ursula, and of course the island of La Graciosa. These are all places that are worth exploring, and you will see the real Lanzarote there. The Lanzarote you see in the resorts is very much geared towards the tourist. All the places I've mentioned are not. It's where local people live, work, play and have fun. And you'll learn a lot more about the Canarian culture and the psyche of the Canarian people if you visit those as well. So I would urge you to do so. So there you go, those are my 7 mistakes that people make sometimes when they come to Lanzarote. I hope you've learned 1 or 2 things here at least that will prevent you from making them in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back on Thursday and on Saturday and next Tuesday with another video for you. Bye for now.